Probably so.
Okay, before the movie, the explanation on the pearls.
Pearls.
All of the women in the movie wore a strand of pearls.
And the pearls.
I'll be
So-
darned.
So
Some were longer, some were larger. Yeah.
Very nice. Very
this
nice.
is our nod to the women in the movie.
That's right. Right.
Mrs. Maisel.
Mrs. Maisel.
Mrs. Maisel, yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, Mahoney.
No, that's all right. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Nice touch. Okay, so the movie this week was The Courier from 2020. It's directed by Dennis Cooke. It was written by Tom O'Connor. It starred Benedict Cumberbatch as a British businessman, Greville Wynne, and Merab Ninidze, if I don't know that I'm pronouncing that right, as Oleg Penkovsky, who was a GRU unit agent in Moscow, and the GRU were the military intelligence police. Excuse me. I wasn't able to find a budget for it, but it earned $26 million, 6.6 of it here in the U.S., and then the balance of that 19 million bucks overseas. It did not look, when you watch the movie, that it had an extravagant budget. This is a movie about a pretty nondescript businessman played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who befriends a Oleg Penkovsky, played by Merab Ninidze, and he is entrusted with the British businessman is recruited by the CIA and MI6 to recruit this GRU agent to hand over state secrets to the West. He was a likely subject to do that because one of the GRU agent's jobs was to do industrial espionage on Western countries. So the CIA and MI6 know that Cumberbatch is a businessman who frequently travels to the Soviet Union for business, and he's a pretty nondescript guy, very nondescript. And they select him and recruit him to try and flip the GRU agent, which he does so after a prolonged series of meetings. And it turns out that one of the things that the GRU agent is able to tip the British businessman on is the early signs of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Soviet buildup of missiles in, as Kennedy would say, on that imprisoned island of Cuba. And the GRU agent is not solely responsible for the intelligence that leads to the Cuban Missile Crisis, but he does give the West, and specifically the United States, a tip that the buildup is underway. When the efforts are then made to get both the British businessmen Wynne and Penkovsky out of the Soviet Union before they're discovered, it goes awry. They both end up being imprisoned in a Soviet jail. The Soviet Union agent, the GRU agent, is eventually killed and buried in an unmarked grave, although his family is allowed to continue to live in Moscow. Wynne spent some time in a Soviet prison where he eventually was exchanged for another Soviet spy, and he was released in 1964. So as I think you can indicate there, this is based off a true story that actually happened. It is it's pretty slow-paced Cold War thriller, but I like it because I like that genre of movies. It also has kind of an interesting bromance side to it. It's not really a buddy movie, but Wynne and his Soviet counterpart do go to dinner quite frequently. They go to the ballet, which is very popular in in Russia. There's a hint that there might be some sort of affair going on. I didn't catch up on that too much, but I've read some reviews that suggested it. But anyway, that's the sum of it. It was a movie that was originally called Ironbark, but the name was changed to the Courier, and it did well. It's got about a 75% rating with the various movie groups. But as I say, it didn't. It wasn't a big blockbuster. There were no notable awards for it that I found out. But I found it an interesting movie. I mean, it wasn't Tinker Tailor spy movie, but it wasn't bad. So
yeah, Mike, I thought I really enjoyed it. I hadn't seen it before. I don't even remember it in the day that it would have been, released in 21 or whatever. Maybe I just missed it. I think the thing that was I was comparing it all the way through to Bridge of Spies, the Tom Hanks movie of what maybe generally that same time frame. And Cumberbatch is not he may not be Tom Hanks, but he's not chopped liver as a dramatic actor. And the thing I found most surprising is what you already referred to, is that Oleg, or Alex's wife, and children were allowed to live, live quietly in Moscow after that. I guess maybe that was the softening of the Soviet Union. It would have been pretty easy to think they were just murdered like he was.
Mike, I have a different timeline than at least what I think I heard you say. I thought the origin of this whole thing was the Russian agent reaching out to the West, and the CIA and the British picked up on that, and they recruited a gentleman who had never been to the Soviet Union. He was a salesman from the UK, and they convinced him to go and try to pretend to be opening business accounts in Russia so he would have some reason to be in touch with this Soviet guy, but that it was the Soviet guy who kind of got the train to leave the station. Did I miss that?
no, you may be right. It's been literally 3 weeks since I've seen this movie. So and I didn't go back and rewatch it. So it's quite possible that could be. The way I remember the movie is they recruited Wynne as a businessman because he was already going to the Soviet Union. But I wouldn't swear to it.
He would. I would have said he was going to Eastern European nations, but not, but hadn't been to the Soviet Union yet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Stand corrected.
Well, the movie was very timely for me because I just got back I went to the Kennedy Museum in Hyannisport and then to the Kennedy Library in Boston. And as you can imagine, in both places, the Cuban Missile Crisis is a big part of that. And what I had forgotten, of course, I was 10 years old at the time, and I'm not sure it's embedded in our joint memories, that giving up bases in Turkey or giving up nuclear weapons in Turkey was part of the deal, but it had to be kept quiet. Kennedy said, okay, we'll dismantle them, but you can't tell anybody, which, I didn't know that till I visited these two museums, but that came out, at least the dismantling of nuclear weapons in Turkey came out. I don't know that they talked about exactly what the terms were, but it was interesting to watch the movie after being to those two museums and recalling all that.
Yeah, I always thought that I was aware of that swap, and I was always and remain astonished that the Soviets agreed to keep the Turkish missile element of this private for, I don't know, months for sure, if not over a year. I mean, maybe they just felt like they had that much egg on their face, and Khrushchev wanted to simply back out of a thorny situation. But I was always astonished that the Soviets didn't make the U.S. acknowledge that there was a quid pro quo.
Yeah. But John, I think maybe the movie wasn't really on anybody's radar. It was released right in the middle of COVID, and theaters, a lot
Yeah.
of theaters weren't open. And
Yeah.
so I don't think it got much of attention anyway.
Well, probably right. And I'm just reading the missiles were removed from Turkey in April of 63. So 6 months later.
But I don't remember the Soviets beating their chest about, well, we got that done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at least in another movie that talks a lot about this, that if I grow old enough to get all of my movies watched by this esteemed crowd, there is quite a bit of conversation between Robert Kennedy and Dobrynin, who was the Russian ambassador forever, but certainly during that period of time. Anyway, the U.S., at least in that film, suggests that those missiles in Turkey were outdated anyway, and it wasn't a great big loss to give that up. But nevertheless, they didn't want it publicized. And anyway.
And if it was April of 63, God, Kennedy only had like, what, 7 more months to live.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Mahoney, had you seen, where'd he go?
Uh-oh, yeah. Oh, you lost him.
He'll be back.
Had anybody seen this movie before?
No.
No.
I hadn't. John, what movie were you talking about? Were you talking about a different movie?
Yeah. Hang on, Mike. I think it's, I've got it. Gary has seen my list of movies. It was Kevin Costner who played Kenny O'Donnell, the Kennedys' political advisors, called 13 Days, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the guy that played JFK is somebody you would recognize. I don't remember his name. The guy that played Bobby Kennedy, you might recognize. It was obviously a Kevin Costner film because it was really heavily influenced by Kenny O'Donnell. But it was good, and I think, at least as I have studied the missile crisis, pretty accurate. So
While we're waiting on Mahoney, he touched on a part of this that I'm curious if the filmmaker intended for it. But these are two men, one who, after he finds out his friend's in trouble, is willing to risk his life and go back into Russia to try to save him.
Yeah.
They both have to hide this relationship from their wives. They go to an opera and are emotionally moved by Swan Lake.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the romance part of it is very subtle, but I'm curious if the filmmaker wanted to imply, well, the world was saved by a couple of very intertwined men. And you never know who's going to be a hero these days. And it could be guys like this. But it wasn't lost on me that there was a pretty personal relationship that went beyond just a spy versus spy thing.
Spy versus Spy, Mad Magazine.
Now you're dating yourself.
Well, yeah.
So you took it that them crying at the theater was a sign of like a romance? I mean, I guess you could. I just
you read you can read what you want into scenes like that, which is what makes a great movie interpretable, by different points of view.
right.
But he was adamant about, I'm not leaving my friend behind to be dealt with by the hands of the Soviet Union. I'm going back to get him out. There's more than
Yeah.
to me. I think one reviewer said, you're watching Brokeback Mountain, you just didn't know it was a spy thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Bill is in the pictures behind you is the one that we're seeing on the right. That's the actual guy, right? That's the Englishman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cumberbatch played that guy.
Not bad.
Yeah, well, and as you're watching the very end of the film, when they're telling you everything, they've got, to me, the way the gentleman would have looked right after he got out of the Soviet prison,
Yeah.
and the makeup they did on Cumberbatch and however much weight he lost, I thought was a pretty remarkable likeness.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
he
right.
lost
Yeah,
20
right behind
pounds.
Jeff. Yeah,
He lost 20 pounds for the movie.
is that right? Yeah.
I read that
Yeah,
somewhere.
that was good.
Mhm.
I'm going to weigh in talking about the ballet, and I think kind of the relationship that those guys had. I felt like they both realized the gravity of what they were doing and how important it was, and how they were depending on each other. I didn't get the sense of a romance there. And also the ballet in Russia, my impression is the ballet is a very impassioned kind of an experience. And I think Cumberbatch's character got that, and he saw this thing happening in front of him and how the crowd was responding and how his colleague was responding to it. And this is a thing of great beauty and, sort of a tragic thing at the same time. I just felt like they were reacting to the intensity of the experience rather than to, crying on each other's shoulders or anything like that. I felt like they felt such a strong bond in their efforts to save the world, basically.
That's the way the way I read it, Jeff.
Me too.
And I think there's certainly who knows, could be the Brokeback Mountain of the Cold War, but I think especially when you think about that generation, I think there was a certain honor there that it's like, no, we got into this together. Things went sideways for him. I owe a debt. So that's the way I took it. And you know me, I read sex into everything. So
You missed that one.
I also felt like the spy game has really changed with all the technology that exists today. I mean, have bugs all over you. They'd be tracking you everywhere you went and so forth. They were worried about maybe a listening device in the room, but beyond that, the technology was flimsy. But still, the Russians caught on to what was happening, and they knew about things. I guess they're just ears and eyes everywhere in Russia that caught those things. Or even if there was a suspicion, they would come to your house and ransack it and look for the evidence of anything. So today, it's all Mission Impossible stuff, and in those days it was kind of manual.
So what was the tie clip? Was that just a way to recognize him, or was there some surveillance built into the tie clip?
Both.
I tried to find that answer, John, and it was a device for Alec to recognize him. Okay. But it didn't say if there was something embedded in there, and
no,
well, could have been.
Yeah,
I thought it was both.
Yeah, see, and I got the impression that the Soviets also had a mole of their own in, if not MI6, the CIA. So it wasn't just that the Russians on the ground in Moscow figured it out, but that they had some intelligence that was showing up from the West.
When you
I think that's right.
Held out for a minute, Mike, I asked if anybody had seen this before. Had you seen this before?
I had seen it about 5 or 6 months ago, and just it looked interesting, just on its surface, because like I said, I like espionage movies, so I'd seen it, like I say, 5 or 6 months ago, and then went back and rewatched it a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
I was surprised that they didn't have Rachel Brosnahan, Emily Donovan, a little more involved. I mean, if she was representing the CIA, it was a pretty weak representation. And I was really disappointed because, and even in her acting, I mean, I loved her as, Mrs. Maisel, who didn't. But this was just kind of flimsy, sort of, that hair, Lord. But,
Chris, if you remember, she is the one that gives the pivotal speech to keep him in the game.
right, but that's all she did. That was it, as far as I was concerned, that she didn't do much else. But Gary, I have something for you that I found in IMDb that says, this is about Cumberbatch talking about Cooke, that he was very keen to work with him again, and that Cumberbatch became fascinated by Greville Wynne. He said, I was intrigued by the arc the character went on. I said, whoa, there we go. But I also looked up some of the goofs and the trivia stuff. I get a big kick out of that. And one of the things was that in the 4-year time span that this movie takes place, the sun doesn't grow at all.
Yeah.
He's still the same size. There is no such thing as this telephone hotline. There's some sort of a telegraph or telegram system between the US and Russia. There was no red phone to the Kremlin. And then the soup, I don't know what was in that soup, but it was the same soup shot both times that they
Olives.
showed it.
Beets.
I don't know what, it was kind of
Looked like a
nasty
blueberry.
looking, but anyway.
Looked like eyeballs to me.
That's what I
Right,
thought.
that's what I
Making
thought
somebody's
too.
eyeballs.
Like goats or, I don't know, but it was kind of nasty. But I loved the movie. I loved the thrill of it, and had forgotten so much that went on when we were 10 years old, basically. And Jeff Arthur was just being born and
That's
coming
right.
into the world.
I was born in the during this movie when it took place.
Yeah, yes, you were. So anyway, I enjoyed it very much, Michael.
I think I vaguely remember the duck and cover drills in
Yes.
school. I certainly remember the tension from the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm not sure I'm sure I didn't understand it all, but I do remember being aware of the international tensions.
Mm-hmm.
My wife Joan lived in Central Florida. I mean, she grew up in Central Florida, and it was they had like daily drills. And
I'll bet.
She looks back and laughs about. So hiding under my desk is going to save me from.
Yeah. From the
that's
mushroom
right.
cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, in Springfield, we didn't go into the desk, but we went out and lined up along the wall of the the
Yeah.
hall in the elementary school, and did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
Same thing like a tornado drill. So
Uh-huh.
what's the difference?
Yeah. Not
Pretty
dissimilar. Wouldn't have done a damn thing.
That's right. Jeff Arthur.
Oh, I enjoyed it a lot. Like Mike, I like, spy movies, espionage movies. I was a little surprised that back then, maybe they weren't, like Jeff was saying, the technology is different, but I'm surprised he had such access to all those secret documents all by himself. He just went in there as like a library and just took pictures. I'm surprised that they let just one person go at a time, but.
And I wonder why he took pictures with that camera instead of using his phone.
Well, he didn't have an Android, Gary. He just had an iPhone.
Oh, geez.
No, it's great. I like movies like this that, kind of teach you about history too. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's interesting.
Have any of you seen the TV series The Americans?
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite of this, where they plant Russians into the American society, and it's pretty much they're pretty much just embedded, and nobody knows they're Russians, and all those stories in that series is based on real things that happened. It's a pretty good series. But I mean, I don't know. I was watching one thing on our movie, and it was said it was such a contrast to like James Bond and
Mhm.
all that kind of thing. And Mike was saying he liked this genre of spy movie, or spy thing. And I was kind of wondering what some of those were. I think we talked about one earlier, but what other movies are kind of like this?
Well, we
sir,
watched the one I had, which was Man from U.N.C.L.E.,
Yeah.
which is having a resurgence. It came through, it's on Hulu or Netflix or something, and all of a sudden it is very popular. It's lots of people are watching it. I think maybe, Henry Cavill's been in the news after he got injured.
You're just ahead of your time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. At least they're both still alive. Like
Hey, Bill,
when I picked the
what
Brian
show
Wilson
was
movie.
that show, The Americans? Is that on Netflix or what's it on?
I wouldn't know right now. I can look it up if you want, but it's a real good series.
Oh, wait, there is a series called The Americas that Tom Hanks does, but you said The Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the Americas is
Yeah.
a different doc.
one of them's wildlife and geography, and the other one's people.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
And then if you like, MI6, then there's the Apple show Slow Horses. That's particularly good. I'm excited that the new season starts this month.
What's it
Have you
called?
watched Slow Horses?
Slow Horses.
So horse.
Recommend it?
Yeah. So if you're a spy, if you work for MI6 and you screw up, you don't get kicked out, you get demoted down to Slough House, which is just a completely different location even, and you're given shitty jobs. And in this, the slow horses are the people that have been relegated to Slough House, except in season after season, they're the ones that seem to figure out what the hell's going on, and they're besting the people over at MI6, right and left.
Yeah, so good.
Pretty good. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Although it's contemporary, so you will see all the technology and the phones and the
And Gary
There's
Oldman
one
is a
character
fabulous
who-
actor.
he's the
Yes.
the one
He's so good.
character that's the tech guy, the young Asian kid.
Oh, yeah.
He's good.
He's very good. I can't remember his name. It's been too long since I've watched it. But
Well, yeah, we're just about to start another season, but it's
Okay.
yeah, I recommend it.
There's another really good one. It's called it's called two different ways. It's called Spooks. Has anybody ever seen that? It's also called MI6, I think. They made a movie out of it, but it's a series, and it's real good. It's a PBS or a BBC?
BBC.
Yeah,
I think it's
BBC
BBC.
series, but it's excellent. And I can never find. I watched it years ago, but I can never find it streaming now. But
Yeah, I watched,
it's
that was on for
excellent.
years. I watched all those ones.
Of some spooks.
Well, I think it was called MI6,
Yeah,
or it started out as MI5 and moved to MI6 or something.
yeah, maybe it
like
was MI6 is okay. There is an MI5 and there's an MI6, right?
Mhm.
that. I don't know what
MI5 is the
difference is.
FBI, and MI6 is the CIA.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was, British TV, and it was on for many years, and I watched a lot of those.
It got pretty violent, but it's good.
Yeah.
So that other show, it is called The Americans, and it's Matthew Rise and Kerry Russell, but it's a good one. It's
And
real
what's it on?
I don't know. I didn't say that, but it's a good one.
I think when it's British and it's RHYS, Bill, they call that Reese.
What now?
When it's somebody's name is RHYS, British,
Oh,
it's
Reese?
Reese. Reese, yeah. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I actually have met a couple of folks across the pond named Reese, but spelled
It's-
RHYS.
I looked it up and it's streaming on Hulu.
Good. Means you can
And
use it,
it's you can buy it on Prime and Amazon and so forth, but it streams on Hulu. The Americans.
right? Yeah. So
Isn't that owned by Disney?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
What isn't owned by Disney?
Well,
Universal.
Jimmy Kimmel's gonna be back on tomorrow night.
yeah, Jimmy's coming back tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see if his monologue is muted or if he basically just gave him the finger and said, you put me back on or you've created a real Pandora here.
Yeah, yeah.
My guess is he'll have something apologetic to say.
You think?
Huh?
Oh yeah.
You think?
Oh yeah. They said they've had thoughtful conversations with him over the past couple of days.
Yeah. What did you and I have thoughtful conversation on the car up and the car back and during the game? Were those thoughtful conversations?
I hope nobody was recording them.
I understand he's going to have the California governor, Gavin Newsom, on.
Oh, is
So
it really?
So I don't know how apologetic he'll be.
Ah, well, Newsom will be back, you know that.
We have a Next Star station in Springfield,
Yeah.
and we have an ABC affiliate. The Next Star company here owns the CBS and Fox, and the NBC affiliate runs the ABC and CW. And I called both of them today and I called the Next Star station and congratulated them on, the fact that Jimmy Kimmel was returning. And I called the station that runs the ABC station and said, congratulations on, returning Jimmy Kimmel. And both receptionists it was obvious they thought I was kidding.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
that's Springfield, Missouri.
Hmm.
Gary, we could both call Brian tomorrow and ask him if he's going to have Jimmy on at 10:30.
Yeah. Yeah, the general manager of the ABC, NBC, CW station is in our Rotary Club. And I'm sure for him is like, oh, good, just preempt him and don't make this my problem. Now it's your problem again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't you imagine several of the Sinclair and Next Star stations that have ABC affiliates will not show him?
That's the big decision. This is the whole tug of war between the networks and its station groups. Whose is bigger?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that they'll pull him off in certain markets, you mean?
They might.
That's what prompted this to begin with, is that Nexstar and Gray said last week that they were pulling Kimmel's show and they were going to replace it with something else. And then
It was Nexstar and Sinclair.
I thought it was Gray, but anyway, and then Brendan Carr, the FCC, got involved, and then Disney yanked him off. So
And Brendan Carr had his car in reverse about as fast as it would go today. After his comments right after the thing, and today, man, he was, I think we say, putting a distance between himself and the issue.
Well,
Who is he?
He's the FCC chair.
Oh, okay.
the way television worked back when we were kids is the networks depended on the local stations to get their signals out. They would pay the local stations to carry their signals. And then when the networks saw that there was cable and streaming, it's like, we don't need you local stations anymore. And the tables turned. But now the station groups have enough clout that they can go to the network and say, we don't like Jimmy Kimmel and we're not going to run him. We're in charge again. So it's interesting to watch the ebb and flow of who holds the power in broadcasting. Mahoney and I have lived through all three phases of it.
yeah. Well, didn't something similar to this happen with the Smothers Brothers? Wasn't there pressure on CBS? This is back in the 1960s. The Smothers Brothers had a comedy show, and they were very critical of President Johnson and the Vietnam War. And CBS started to get pushback from some affiliates.
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right?
Yeah. And if
Yes, but the Johnson administration didn't go after them the way that this cowardly administration has gone after.
It came from.
Has gone after anyone that doesn't, kiss his puckered white ass.
The remember, this is being recorded.
Yeah, you're gonna get us kicked off.
Make sure this has
All right.
administrative approval. John and I talked about this weekend. If you haven't seen the Ed Sullivan documentary, Ed Sullivan sort of led the way in bringing African-American acts to broadcast television, and he did it against headwinds from affiliates in the South. And he was told, they're not going to run this, they're not going to run your show if you keep putting Negroes on TV. And the Lincoln Mercury dealers aren't going to pay for advertising in a show that has Negroes on TV. And Ed Sullivan flipped him the middle finger and said, I think even Southerners will watch good entertainment. And and they did. I mean, no affiliate backed out, no Lincoln Mercury dealer bailed out. And as a result, everybody got to see Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight and the Pips, you know, et cetera, et cetera. If you watch that documentary, it's through a lens of one of the civil rights most progressive people was Ed Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It enlightened me about what a force of culture he was.
What a badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't like the Rolling Stones.
Didn't he?
He had standards, you know. Jim Morrison, I think, kind of upset him a little bit.
Didn't like Bob Dylan.
It's called Sunday Best. It was done in 23.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's worth a look.
What did you say happened to Oleg?
He was imprisoned, and then he was shot as a traitor and buried in an unmarked grave.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Wynne was traded in an espionage swap in '64.
So here's this guy that's in an unmarked grave, but he's more famous than many, many, many other people who are celebrated and have a fancy grave and everything else. That's kind of, there's some harmony in that somehow.
Well, at least one of the pieces of information, Jeff, at the end was he was considered the most valuable agent,
Intelligence source.
Yeah, intelligence source of all of that Cold War period.
Yeah.
Did any of this remind you of current day stuff? You know, like what's going on now? This the tension between Russia and the West, all that.
Well, they still have spy swaps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that's contemporaneous.
Yeah. And they do in Ukraine a lot. I know that one of the few things that they do, right? Bomb each
Yeah,
other.
and her name escapes me now, but the basketball player, the NBA player.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Cheryl Greiner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greiner.
That spent what a
They
year
just-
in a Russian prison.
Something like that.
Something
Yeah.
like-
But they just held her for drugs, right?
Yeah, but they knew how valuable she would be, how they could trade her, you know.
And they got something good for her.
They did. Yeah.
The Russians got somebody actually dangerous.
Yeah.
Big arms dealer, right?
Yeah.
Did the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah.
Did the Wall Street Journal reporter, was he part of a spy swap?
I don't know.
He was part of a swap. I don't remember who they swapped him for, Gary.
Another basketball player. Yeah.
And Natalie, is it Natalie? Was that the Russian that went back? They just threw him in prison and never let him out.
Yeah, Navalny.
Navalny.
Yeah. Poisoned him and killed him.
Yeah.
Probably poisoned him several times actually through the years.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Oh, okay, Gary. Was that thoughtful?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Hey, once a reporter, always a reporter, all right?
Yeah.
Just trying to stay out of court.
So
Yeah.
when things like that happen, Mike, do they talk about it at the station or anything? Like, I'm sure things like what happened to Kimmel's happened before. Like they talk to reporters about being careful, about what they say. And
Yeah, there are constant warnings, admonitions to watch what you say and how you say it, and not to be inflammatory. I mean, some of it is just good, the choice of objective language. It's not something that comes up every day. It's not something that comes up on a periodic basis. But I'm sure there were discussions in every local newsroom in America about the Kimmel situation over the last week. And I mean, it comes up from time to time to make sure you're not using inflammatory language.
yeah.
Where it comes up on a day-to-day, well, not day-to-day, but constant, is less sexy. But let's say you have a consumer reporter and they go out and do a story about how some car dealer is ripping people off in their inspections or something. And then the car dealer calls up and reminds you that they're spending $500,000 on your TV station every year, and remind you that,
Oh, yeah.
pull our advertising at any minute, and how many people will you have to lay off? And those are real world conversations that happen all the time.
Yeah, those are more frequent. Absolutely.
But Kimmel he's not a journalist, he's a comedian, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean,
but,
from what I could
there are
tell,
On
what he
his good days,
said
on his
wasn't,
good days.
But during a late night talk show, there are local advertisers who spend their money and can call up a TV station and say, we spend $500,000 to have our spots in Jimmy Kimmel and we don't want them there anymore. And so cancel our advertising. And the station goes, wait a minute, how about if we run Family Feud instead? Would you let us keep those commercials on TV at 10:30 if they're in Family Feud? And okay. And that's what a bunch of the Sinclair stations or Nexstar stations did. They ran harmless Family Feud to save, the advertisers.
well, okay, then, I don't know anything about this business, but it seems to me like you wouldn't want to have advertisers that big that, one of them's going to make that much difference to you.
Just like everything else, there's consolidation. There's consolidation in, how many McDonald's are there? One decision and can pull all the McDonald's advertising, could cripple a network. There's a lot of consolidation. Think about every Chiefs game you watch, not you, Jeff, but the rest of us, they're full of State Farm commercials. And if State Farm called up and said, we don't want to be any more NFL football, that would change budgets.
And at the same time, watching the Kimmel show and saying, hey, here's this local person and here's this local person. But now all of a sudden we're getting Family Feud. I can and encourage my friends and neighbors to also call up those places and say, I'm not buying your shit anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a highway that goes in both directions.
I think Disney got a lot of cancellations over the past 72 hours. And, and now my guess is there'll be cancellations in the other way.
Well, I mean, we put a big old hurt on Target,
Yep.
Yeah.
They're still not out of that hole.
Bud Light,
I canceled my Washington Post subscription because they fired that journalist lady, whatever her name was.
Wow.
Yeah, local TV took a giant hit during COVID, but because two of the main staples of local advertising revenue are car dealerships and
Injury lawyers.
real estate. And anyway, during the height of COVID, people weren't buying cars and they weren't out looking at homes, and that triggered a big retrenchment inside of local TV news, and not just news, but station wide. There were layoffs in engineering and sales, in the front office, news, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Bill, you're right. And like, especially if you watch, which I don't very often, but watch TV in the daytime, it's just nothing but injury lawyers. I guess they figure people that got hurt are at home in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And watching, with their foot up or their neck in a brace or whatever and watching TV. But God, you're
In the
right.
morning, it's mostly when I see it. In the morning, I watch the
Yeah,
morning.
that's what I mean. In the daytime, not so much evening shows.
But isn't it also true that like when Johnny Carson was late night host, it was quite a bit more non-political, and
Yeah.
now these guys they're all about being political. I mean, it's like,
Well, man, I remember Carson would, with almost nightly regularity, take jabs at whoever was president. He'd go after Nixon, he went after Johnson, he'd go after Carter, all these guys to different levels. But I mean, there was politics in his monologues and in other people's. Now, the degree to which Colbert and Kimmel and Fallon, none of which I watch on a regular basis, but my wife likes Colbert and will tape his monologues.
Stewart.
Yeah, they're extremely political. There's not much man on the street humor in some of these guys. Certainly Colbert and Stewart.
Jay Leno was pretty apolitical. He was also pretty bland, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, he'd take the obvious shot. Yeah. I'm not saying he's Mort Saul, Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
has everybody?
You'd be correct. Yeah.
Has everybody watched the new South Park stuff or heard about it?
I've heard about it. I never watched the show to start, but I've heard about it. Yeah. They are unrelenting.
Oh my God, the stuff, well, it's so interesting too, the whole backstory of it and everything. But no, they like the first episode of this season, it ends up with a big fat Trump naked wandering in the desert. And he's just, it's just satire that, I mean, hey, I'm not a fan, but I can see how people would get offended by this kind of stuff. And if you haven't seen it, you should see it just to start kind of understanding what's going on with it, because they're in the crosshairs now too. Sure. But South Park got bought by Paramount, and Paramount got bought by Blue Sky or whatever it is, and that's a conservative group. But they paid Paramount paid like over $1 billion to have the South Park catalog, and this stuff is just they do the thing with Trump in bed with the devil, and I don't know. I mean,
so it's a documentary.
No, it's not a documentary. Yeah, right. But I mean, it's amazing, actually. I mean, it's you should at least watch the first episode of South Park this year.
Yeah, I don't watch it either, but I've heard that the criticism of Trump is pretty strident now.
Yeah.
Well, who's up next?
I think they were getting ready to take on Charlie Kirk, and they pulled us.
Well, that's the other thing. See, Trump is really mad about it. They did an episode last year with Kirk in it, and I saw this on the news or YouTube or something, and he said they were interviewed Kirk, and he said it's kind of an honor to be on South Park because they mock everybody. So he wasn't offended, not like Trump is going to be. He wasn't offended by all this. I haven't seen the Kirk episode, but I can imagine, because they do parody everybody. They parody everybody. They always have. Anyway, you guys should watch the first episode if you get a chance. It's just over the top.
Mattson, right?
It is Mattson.
Mattson's up next. but we don't know. And I follow Mattson, and I'm ready to reveal my pick, but should we give him a chance to weigh in?
Well, Chris, why don't you email him and say, I'm on deck unless you've got something, and then see what he says.
Okay,
I'm for going with Chris and just doubling back on Mattson next week.
All right.
But Chris, in the meantime, you should send him a note and say, I'm in charge here at the White House.
Well, we've got a couple of weeks before it comes up anyway.
right. We do have time. It's not like it's next week, so.
So October 6th,
6th, yes, 3 days before your birthday.
3 days before my birthday.
That's right. That's
I'll
right.
be
So,
And Jeff, is this your birthday today?
It is, yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
62,
Yep.
looks
What-
good on you.
You know what
Yeah.
Tennessee Ernie Ford said about another day older and deeper in debt?
Right.
John, he has no idea who Tennessee Ernie Ford is.
I know.
Me too. I sing that song all the time.
Yeah,
I'm having trouble remembering what he looked like.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Not
was
not
kinda
very
gruff.
much different than Nicholas Cumberbatch in this film. He had
True.
that
True.
kind of a mustache.
Oh, that
real
mustache,
black
yeah.
hair.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
don't care. I could watch Cumberbatch, recite the periodic table and be entertained.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll get a hold of Mattson and then send an email to everybody. I guess,
Sounds good.
if that's okay, if he's gonna submit a pick, if not,
No, I'm for you, going with you.
oh, you just wanna go with me now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, okay, well, everybody agree with that?
Sure.
Sure,
that's
I'm
good.
fine with
Yeah.
that.
Right, all right.
Ready?
Well, my pick is gonna be in memory of a famous actor that we've lost in the last week. And the movie is The Sting.
Great movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be fun.
A good movie.
It'll be fun. There are so many of his that I wanted to choose. I wanted Out of Africa, but that's almost 3 hours long. I thought you guys would kill me. It's not winter, right? You're sitting around doing nothing. So, yeah, the pick
I was
is.
hoping for the way we were, but
Sting.
That's what
Well,
Joan,
that's a
Joan
little.
downloaded the way we
Mahoney
were
doesn't
yesterday
like
because she
mushy
wanted to.
movies, so I didn't pick that one. But
tell
it's a-
Joan I highly approve.
She said she just wanted to cry.
yeah,
I went
it
to a
was
baseball
sad.
game and she came home and rented the movie.
Oh. So apparently it's available on Prime, YouTube, Apple, Fandango at home.
Starring
wow.
my favorite Martian.
Yeah,
Is that right? Ray Watson?
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Well, in
Alright.
2 weeks,
I know
we'll
Robert Redford's
reconvene
in
and-
it, but Ray Walston's.
He takes the show, does he? Is that the one where Paul Newman's in it too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And it
Yeah,
was after,
And Robert Shaw is the heavy.
yeah, and
who is?
Robert Shaw.
Robert.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. He plays a good heavy, right?
He does a great job.
Gandorf. Sorry,
Yeah.
gotta get that right. I'm gonna do this, so.
What year was it? Just our,
1973.
okay.
Gotta go, folks.
All right.
See
All
ya.
right,
Good, JR.
Well done. Okay. See you guys.
Are you
Good.
going to,
Okay.
thanks, Michael. Good
All right.
job.
Gotta go. See you guys.
Good night.
That was a
Bye.
good movie.
Guys.
Thanks.